So I'm here at the Under Armour launch of their new Flow Velocity Elite shoe in Portugal, and with us now is Stephen Scullion, 209.49 marathon runner. So Stephen, great to be here. First of all, I wanted to ask you about your own marathon career, why you turned to the marathon and how your marathoning has developed over the recent years.
Yeah, it's a good question, and the first tip out the box would be normally I'd corrected you there and said 209.48.
Oh, was
but
it?
That's actually the problem with most runners, no offense. But don't ever obsess about the little details. Unless it's like I ran 14:59 for 5k and not 15 minutes, I understand. But yeah, look, I got into marathon running really because the Rio Olympic times were actually, I guess you could just say, very achievable. The track stuff, I looked at the times, they were very tough. And I thought, you know what, I believe I could do it. I think it was 2:17 at the time back in Rio, how things have changed. And I really gave it a go. I think I seen potential in that build-up that I could do something special. Race result didn't work out the way I wanted. Don't need to go down that route, but we just seen potential. I then had the best 4 or 5 years you could probably ever imagine, where I went 2:17, 2:15, 2:13, 2:11, down to 2:09, and that kind of plateaued in 2020. And that's sometimes just how sport goes. I think what tends to happen is you forget that in the 5 years of lovely progression, you were just doing things, working on the basics, keeping things simple. Then you run a big result like 2:09, and I guess you're like chasing your tail a bit. I was chasing 2:09. I was trying to repeat the same training I maybe did for that 2:09, and things fell apart a little bit. So now I'm back into training. I took a bit of time off, and I decided, let's try to do things right. Let's stick to a plan. Every athlete thinks there's more in them, I hope. But I know that I made some mistakes in that 2:09 build-up. I know that the day of that 2:09, it was windy, it was wet, it was hailstones, it was a loop course in London, it was hard. So I think there's something a bit more there. Whether there's a 2:08:10, you don't know. But you try. Running's all about the journey, it's all about the process. Don't narrow too much in on the big end result, even if it goes really well or it doesn't. It's the whole process. It's the running. To cut a long story short, I found a new way to make money. I found a nice life, and I was in Hawaii for 2 months, and I was like, you know what, I miss that Tuesday used to be Tuesday. Tuesday was reps. I miss that Sunday was maybe a long run day. I felt lost. And so with your running, remember that it's given you way more than you could ever believe, not just the big race result or whatever. It gives a lot to your life, and once you start focusing on that and just taking care of the little things, not complicating stuff, who knows what I'm capable of and other athletes.
Sure. So the next marathon, nothing planned for the spring.
Sure.
But for autumn?
Yeah, every time I train at the minute, these spring marathons are just like
Tempting.
God, like today I trained and last week I trained, and it's just, I don't know, it's really tempting. But yeah, for once I want to just, I have this idea that I think most athletes are willing to cram, even squeeze an extra session into a week, but oftentimes not willing to, hey, I'll not squeeze an extra session into this week, I'll actually just train for an extra week. And one of my downfalls has been that I call it like cashing in early. Things are going well, you get excited, but then you want to cash in, and if you think, what if I let it marinate for another 3-4 weeks? What if I let it marinate for another 3-4 months? What was I capable of? And I think we get emotional and we get excited, and then it's like, find me a race coach, cash in. And sometimes you're not as prepared as you think you are. Marathon's a long way. And so I think being prepared to get to 36, 37K is one thing. I actually think it's probably 50% better preparation gets you to 42K. It's that simple.
So I was speaking to you earlier, you said perhaps Berlin for this autumn. You're going to go back there?
Yeah, I think so. I have I wish I had a better experience last year. It's such a phenomenal marathon, world record there. It's fast. I don't mind it. There's not amazing bulks or packs around 208 to 210, but as long as it's a good course, good weather, it's a good time of year for me. I can do some track now. I can do a fast half marathon in probably August. Similar build up that I had for London when I ran 209. I ran the Antrim Coast half, ran really fast there, gave me confidence. That's the kind of build up that I'd love to see sort of happen, and go to Berlin, fastest course in the world. And if ever you're going to run 208, you know, you'll find out. And it's okay if I don't. This is I think I can do it, and you go try. It's not so we take everything so personal, you know. It's just you're just trying to do something, and that's a big thing to try to do. But I'll hopefully do everything I can, and Berlin should take care of itself.
And I was going to ask you about your advice for marathoners. We're coming up to the spring marathon season. We've got Manchester and London consecutive weekends in the UK, but you now have your own online presence with advice and training tips for athletes. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, look, I've made so many. I think there's a quote, and it's do as they say and not as they do. And it's there's I don't know why. I'm not being arrogant. I don't know. I'm just a brain box from researching over the years, but I never applied it to myself. It's like I know the logic, and I always in this running school that I have, and it's, you know, joggingroom.com, little running school, and I have this saying that you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And it's like I have all this knowledge, and I wanted to share that knowledge with people because I thought genuinely I put a lot of work into this. It was a month of probably 10 to 12 hour days, a lot of work. But it was trying to get out of my head into other people's head the things I just do automatically that they maybe don't know about. You have so many athletes are just so keen, and they just want to be better at running, and they just don't know warm-up routines. They don't know drills. They don't know foam rolling. They don't know what to do when they walk in a gym. It's intimidating. I've trained with Mo Farah. I've had, probably because of ADHD, way more coaches than I should have had, but I've been exposed to amazing coaches, amazing groups, amazing place to train. And it was just sharing some of the tips on psychology, nutrition, recovery, strength conditioning, things I've learned over the years that I know when people work full time. I know when they can't get away and get exposed to these athletes. They can't see what these athletes are doing. But it's not elite. A lot of this is just 5 to 10 minutes before you go for a run, do this. Eating at this time because it's really going to help. How to carb load. And I wanted to put that together so that when people were maybe following online training plans, they knew what to do around these training plans and all the extras. And that's what makes athletes good. It's not... I remember a coach a long time ago saying it's not the 1 to 2 hours training you're doing a day, it's the 22 other hours of the day. What are you doing, and how isn't it helping you absorb the training you're doing and get to tomorrow's training in a great place to move forward? And that was, in essence, what I wanted to teach people.
So you know, you said there, Stephen, a lot of experience over the years, so a lot of pointers and tips to offer.
Yeah.
So in this final 5-6 weeks build up for people watching coming into their marathon, give us 3 top tips for marathon runners in the final stages of marathon training.
Yeah, and so if there was a whiteboard, at the top of the whiteboard I'd say don't, and then if I was allowed to swear I'd say F it up, and because that's what everybody leans to do in the last 6 weeks. And what I mean by that is if my 3 key points were under it, in the last 6 weeks you can start to try to chase fitness if you've missed little bits. And so don't chase fitness. Don't try to make up time, because you'll make up a tiny bit of fitness but you might end up injured, and it's not worth it. 2, trust what you've done, right? We're all so like, you have 6 amazing weeks and it goes really well, and then you have one upsetting day and it doesn't go that well, and suddenly you think the world's going to end, life is over, my marathon's done. No. Remind yourself, have key moments. Even if it's, you know what, I went to bed early for this entire build-up. Remind yourself of the things you did and you did well, and don't focus in on those little negatives that maybe happened in the build-up. My final piece of advice is do a race plan 1 week out from the race when logic is still in a good place. So 1 week out from a race, logic's in a great place. Write a plan down. Get that plan nailed down based on not the time you want to achieve and dream of, the time that you know you're capable of. And there has to be rules in that. I want to break 3 hours for the marathon. Okay, why can you break 3 hours for the marathon? Well, I ran a faster half marathon in this build up, and in the last race I ran 3:01. I've had a similar build up. okay, it's looking like you could break 3 hours. If you want to break 3 hours because Paul at your club broke 3 hours and you're maybe not in shape to break 3 hours, make a logical plan based on what can I actually achieve and is there factual evidence to back up that plan. And I do this for everyone. What makes me think I can achieve that? And then you have to ask yourself the question. But that will save you a lot of heartache if you get it wrong. Reread that plan with 24 hours to go, reread that plan with 2 hours to go, and just stick to it. Don't let the buzz, don't let the crowd, don't let it all get to you. Just stick to a plan.
That's great advice, because you can get caught up with a lot of emotional on the day, the excitement and all this, and you can get carried away. But thanks, Stephen. Those are great tips, great advice. I'm sure everybody can take some of those points on board, and we wish you all the best for the coming season and your next marathon. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. And I also just want to thank Athletics Weekly for everything they're doing and pushing the running community and what they've done all over the years. I've been in running 20 years, and I'm sure Athletics Weekly's gone a lot longer than that, but even in my lifetime it's existed, and that was something everyone looked at. They wanted to be on the front page of Athletics Weekly. They wanted to be featured in Athletics Weekly.
Have you been on the cover?
Yeah, no.
Oh, not yet. Well, maybe.
I thought to myself, you know what, like I'd have to, back in the day you had to win Liverpool on the weekend of Liverpool, and Andy Vernon always bloody won Liverpool, and haven't had that feature, but maybe someday. But now when you've got like the Keeleys, and like it's going to be very difficult.
Now you've got your video content, so that's even better, I think.
Yeah, no, and that's another great thing. Like I've moved away from. I love running fast. There's no doubt about it. But like I would love my legacy to be more that I impacted the running world in a way that I wanted people to be better, because that's cool, but just to be a bit happier on what they're doing and appreciate what they're doing more. I got to stand at the finish line of Berlin in such a better place on my mental health on a day that I'd dropped out, that I'd normally be all upset and moody. I stood there, seen about 7 athletes go by, and I went, Stephen, 209, you did that. I wanted to stand up on a chair and say, everybody, I did that. And so if you're a runner, give yourself a bloody pat in the back and appreciate what you're doing. Stop always focusing on what you'd like to do, what's next. Give yourself a bloody pat in the back for what you've done until now. This is hard, life's hard, but yeah, be proud of yourself, and yeah, it's very fun. Running's good for you.
Stephen, thank you.